Hello and welcome to the special program marking the anniversary of the National Action Charter of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Since its early years, Bahrain has adopted democracy and it has been an integral part of the policies of its successive rulers for decades. Deeply interested in the involvement and partnership of citizens in decision-making, and out of a true belief in the importance of democracy, His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa launched the ambitious reforming project accompanied with the National Action Charter, which reflected the wise vision for democratization and parliamentary process in the kingdom. The National Action Charter, the special political and social document that paved the way for pivotal development in the Kingdom of Bahrain, was approved by 98.4% of the people of Bahrain and was a great step towards modernization and progress that covered human, political, religious, and social aspects. We have a lot lined up in the special program. Stay tuned, we will be right back.
The National Action Charter is a political document comprising general principles and basic concepts in an aim to determine the current and future courses of action. A public survey was conducted on February 14, 2001, which revealed the approval of the people of Bahrain with a rate of 98.4%, as the National Charter was considered the peak of the democratic development in Bahrain. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa described it as the new breakthrough in the history of Bahrain, seeing that it encompasses many political and economic principles that affirm the open democratic direction of Bahrain. The Kingdom of Bahrain celebrates on the 14th of February of every year the anniversary of the National Action Charter. Such an occasion is important to the people of Bahrain as it paves the way towards the start of a democratic path in the Kingdom of Bahrain.
Welcome back. We continue the special coverage marking the National Action Charter anniversary. After the ratification National Action Charter, the National Assembly was formed, comprising of two chambers, the Shura Council and the Council of Representatives, which perform their duties with constant coordination. With its 40 appointed members, the Shura Council has played a remarkable role over the years in terms of creating an advanced democratic environment and mature political action in the kingdom. To know more about the achievements of the Shura Council as well as its local and international roles, we would like to welcome the Shura Council's Human Rights Committee's chairman, Mr. Ahmed Al Haddad. Hello and welcome to the special coverage marking the anniversary of the ratification of the National Action Charter, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you, Yasmin, for having me. At the outset, I would like to seize this occasion to convey my warmest congratulations and greetings to His Majesty the King, His Highness the Crown Prince, the Prime Ministers, and the people of Bahrain for this great achievement.
Of course. Mr. Ahmed, can you tell us about the stages of development witnessed by legislative work and how they pave the way towards today's political prosperity?
It's all started with the passing and approval of the people of Bahrain of National Charter, 14 February 2001, by which the Charter has, put a clear picture and indicate a clear picture for the legislative composing of the parliaments and the legislative process in the country. By that I mean the parliament, both the Shura Councils and the House of Representatives, as you know, they work together, and the charter created the lower house, that is the House of Representatives. And as you have mentioned in your remarks, both the Shura Council and the House of Representatives, they coordinate their action and work so as to pass legislations, laws, draft laws that serve the interests of the people of Bahrain. It's all initiated by the passing and approval of the people of Bahrain of the National Action Charters.
So how did the National Action Charter consolidate Bahrain's legislative authority, Bahrain's legislative action?
Without any doubt, when the House of Representatives was created in 2002, and also beside the Shura Council, they have passed many laws that serves the citizen of Bahrain, being the political, social, sport, laws that enhance the status of women, enhance the status of children, and the welfare of the people of Bahrain as a whole. So the Shura Council and the House of Representatives, they work together to initiate and study draft laws and articles that need to be amended when they were referred by the government or by both the houses. So by that, they consolidate their action, and they work very closely to coordinate their action and pass the laws that serves the welfare of the citizens of Bahrain.
As you previously mentioned, Mr. Ahmed, the Shura Council's committees are the pillars of its legislative performance. So can you tell us about the role of Human Rights Committee and how its performance is integrated with other committees to serve the aspired goals?
Yes, as everybody knows, the Bahrain foreign policy based on three pillars: peace and security, human rights, and sustainable development. So the Committee of Human Rights in the Shura Council plays a very important role. We coordinate our action with other committees of the Council. If they have draft law, they refer it to us, and they ask us to see whether the articles of this law goes hand in hand with the principles of human rights as a whole, and also to see if it goes with the constitution of the country of Bahrain and the agreements that international agreements that Bahrain has signed, so as to see exactly whether all these entities goes exactly with the aims of the human rights of the citizen of Bahrain. This is one part. The second part is we participate in so many local meetings vis-a-vis human rights. For instance, the Human Rights Committee took part in 9 meetings held by the Foreign Ministry. And as you know, Foreign Ministry of Bahrain is the sole responsible authority that looks after human rights outside the country, and it coordinates its position with all the concerned authorities in Bahrain. They have 9 meetings preparing the national human rights report, which will be discussed by the Human Rights Council in Geneva, I believe, in November 2022. Besides, we also participate in meetings outside the country. For instance, when Human Rights Council holds its meeting, we participate also, and we raise the issue and defend Bahrain interests in this meeting. We as well have contacts with the diplomatic mission in Bahrain. We usually meet them, we exchange views vis-a-vis human rights, concerning human rights in the country. And also, it's very important, we have very good relation with the NGOs in the country that have interests for human rights in the country, and we exchange views on this issue.
Speaking of human rights, this brings me to my next question. How did the National Action Charter lay the foundation of human rights protection in the kingdom?
You see, when His Majesty the King initiated this action, he aimed at first of all, unite the Bahrain society. Second, protect the interests of the citizens of Bahrain. Third, and the culture of peace, tolerance, coexistence among all the people who live on this land. And of course, this charter has strengthened and enhanced this trend, and Bahrain now witnessing the benefits of the Action Charter as applied today.
So how do you value the constant progress witnessed by legislative work regarding preserving human rights, and what are the indications of success?
You see, we both, the Shura Council and the House of Representatives, concerning human rights issue, as I said before and mentioned, that we always coordinate our action and try to see what we can do to improve the situation of human rights in the country and take action in this regard. We had a lot of success with this. Let me tell you one thing. The law of Unified Family Laws, which was passed 2017 July, that had unified family laws that both the Sunni sectors and Jafari sector were brought together, because 2009 the Sunni sector was passed, and 2017, of course, both the Sunni and Jafari sector for the Unified Family Law was passed. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank His Majesty the King. He is actually the dynamo for this achievement, this great achievement. And he insisted with his far-sighted vision to Bahrain to have such kind of a law. The second important achievement, Yasmin, is the Alternative Punishments Law, which was passed during 2017, and this really ushered Bahrain in a new era of human rights developments and protection. As per the reports of the Ministry of Interior, the latest one, 3,826 persons have benefited from this law, and this law has been praised by so many international, local institutions. Take for instance the Human Rights Commission in Geneva. They very much appreciated this law, and they believe that Bahrain had taken really a very important step towards enhancing and strengthening the human rights process in the country. On the 8th of December, Yasmin, the Ministry of Interior held a meeting in the Officers Club in Hudaybiyah, and they show a film explaining the efforts of this ministry regarding the alternative punishment law. We witnessed the families and those detainees who benefit from this law. They appreciated what the King, His Majesty the King, has taken, this positive step, and also His Excellency the Minister of Interior, Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, and all those cadres of the ministry in enhancing the human rights in the country. If you allow me, I would like also to underline one very important point. The Ministry of Interior, they have taken so many initiatives to strengthen and spread the culture of awareness of human rights among its cadres. They have sent so many cadres to study outside and in Bahrain, master degree and doctorate degree, to study the human rights issues, institutions, And this really will help the concerned authorities in the Ministry of Interior to deal very positively and in a human way with all these details. And thirdly, as if you allow me, the passing of child reform 2021. This is a huge step taken by the government of Bahrain. And the minors usually they are victims of maybe some misunderstanding ideologies. And by that law, now the judge has all the power not to take these kids to jails. When he issue his verdict, he can take them to the children which are beyond 15 years old. He can refer them to social reform centers, and those social reform centers will take care of them and study their conditions and help them to be a normal citizen. All these really great achievements by the Kingdom of Bahrain and the concerned authorities. And let me say one thing. The officials of the country, the governments, the legislative, the judiciary, and all concerned, they always work to improve the situation of human rights in Bahrain. Let me mention one important point also. His Highness the Conference, the Prime Minister, he issues lately the directive to spread the open prisoners culture so that the people can benefit from this. Maybe the draft law is, I think it's in the pipeline. Maybe the coming month will be referred to the government and to the House of Representatives and Shura Council. I hope it will pass during this session. This shows how Bahrain cares very much in strengthen the human rights system as a whole.
Of course, just like you said, those positive initiatives or achievements are resulting in those, let's say, successful achievements we're experiencing today. You've previously mentioned about collaboration. So in performing its role, the Shura Council collaborates with several other institutions. Can you tell us how you value such, let's say, collaborations?
You see, Yasmin, the Shura Council cannot work and cannot perform its duties without coordinating action with other institutions in the country. We very much, we cooperate very closely with the legislative branch of the government. The ministers always attend the meeting of the Shura Councils. We always coordinate our action vis-a-vis the laws and the draft laws that brought before the Shura Council with the House of Representatives. Also with the judiciary. I would like to take this occasion to thank His Excellency the Minister of Justice and Islamic Affairs, Khalid bin Ali. He really always attends our meetings and tries to facilitate our task in issuing the laws. So also we have very close relation with the NGOs and in a human rights institution in the country. We always take their point of view when we have certain draft law to be passed by the Shura Council. So it is very important. Our work depends with the coordination and cooperation with all these entities I have mentioned.
Of course, and that does contribute positively to achieve the desired goals that you've mentioned. Coming to our last question, Mr. Ahmed, the cooperation with regional and global Shura councils and democratic institutions are pillars of the council's work, like you mentioned previously. Can you tell us more about the significance of that?
Yasmin, the Parliament, both the House of Representatives and the Shura Council, play a very important role in international diplomacy, parliamentary diplomacy. The Shura Council also participate in Gulf parliaments and Shura Councils on a continuous basis. Whenever there are meetings, both the Shura Councils and the Parliament attend this meeting and make sure that we put forward the concern of Bahrain vis-a-vis the issue which were discussed on these meetings. And also, on the Arab level, we, both the House of Representatives and the Shura Council, we participate in the Arab parliaments. As you know, Yasmin, now the president, the chairman of the Arab parliament is Mr. Adil Al-Toumi. And we are very proud that a citizen of Bahrain, a member of the parliament for so many years, is presiding over this very important entity. And other issues, international IPU, International Parliamentarian Union. Bahrain plays very important role in the meeting of IPU in Geneva, and also in other countries when it were held. And the members of both the houses, Shura and the House of play and have good and very close relation with other parliaments throughout the world. This shows how Bahrain diplomacy, how Bahrain parliamentary diplomacy is taking things serious, coordinate its policies and action with other concerned entities, being it in the Arab world or Gulf or international level. Let me say one thing here, Yasmin. You know, we are very active also in receiving so many dignitaries during 2021. The chairman of the Shura Council of Saudi Arabia was here in Bahrain 2 weeks back. We have also received the chairman of UAE Shura Council as well. The chairman of Parliament of Korea also visited Bahrain. The chairman of Duma, Russian Parliament, also visited Bahrain. This trend shows that Bahrain is respected on regional, Arab level and international level. And this will all contribute enhancing developments of political, social, human rights, women's rights. By this, I can say we are very proud in Bahrain that such kind of personalities are visiting Bahrain. Besides also, a lot of delegation who came to Bahrain during the last year to discuss and take issue of concern with both the House of Representatives and House of Shura. I think Bahrain is on the right track and we are doing beautiful work, and I hope we will continue this. And this all goes because of the commitment of His Majesty the King, and we hope and wish Bahrain peace and security.
Of course, we are indeed proud, and of course, everything that you've mentioned, all the achievements you've mentioned, does pave the way for Bahrain to become a pioneer and stand out and be recognized internationally. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Ahmed Al-Haddad. And our special coverage marking the anniversary of the National Action Charter continues. We will be back right after this.
والفخر، وهذا ابو سلمان عزنا والذخر. من مثلها بلادنا ومثلك حماد، نعمة من ربنا تبي حمد وشكر. دارنا دار الخليفي حماد، لك محبة وشوفها وسط العيون، والقلوب شهود يا القلب الحنون. ليتنا نقدر نرد بعض الجميل، يا المليك اللي لنا عز الوعون. البحرين دارنا دار الخليفي، لك محبة وشوفها وسط العيون، والقلوب شهود يا القلب الحنون. ليتنا نقدر نرد بعض الجميل، يا المليك اللي لنا عز الوعون. دار الخليفي حماد، ضمنا هالبيت في أدفى حضن، ما نتفرق لابد طول الزمان. نجتمع في هالوطن غيبة ومطر، نسكنه وهو في داخلنا سكان. دارنا دار الخليفي، ضمنا هالبيت في أدفى حضن، ما نتفرق لابد طول الزمان. نجتمع في هالوطن غيبة ومطر، نسكنه وهو في داخلنا سكان. دارنا دار الخليفي حماد، لأننا أحرار في صنع القرار، كلنا بنقولها سر وجهار. وبقناعتنا لكم كل الولاء، يعني رهن أمرك ملكنا باختصار. لأننا أحرار في صنع القرار، كلنا بنقولها سر وجهار. وبقناعتنا لكم كل الولاء، يعني رهن أمرك ملكنا باختصار. دارنا دار الخليفي حماد، ضمنا هالبيت في أدفى حضن، ما نتفرق لابد طول الزمان. تحت رايتكم ملكنا نجتمع، والأكيد إنك حمد دوم أولا. ضمنا هالبيت في أدفى حضن، ما نتفرق لابد طول الزمان. تحت رايتكم ملكنا نجتمع، والأكيد إنك حمد دوم أولا. دارنا البحرين، دارنا دار الخليفي حماد. دار الخليفي، دارنا البحرين، دارنا دار الخليفي حماد.
Throughout the previous decades, the Kingdom of Bahrain has provided its people and residents with advanced healthcare services and programs based on the National Action Charter's first chapter that affirms that the state secures healthcare and puts in place health policies that are conducive to achieving its objective of health for all. Ensuring a healthy nation has always been a top priority for Bahraini government. Issuing needed legislation to regulate healthcare resulted in achieving healthcare for all objective throughout the previous years. Today, the Kingdom continues to provide best range of free healthcare services to citizens and residents. This comes in line with the tremendous efforts to achieve Goal 3 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that aims at ensuring healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. On this dear national anniversary, the Ministry of Health is proud of achieving many accomplishments that come as part of the comprehensive development witnessed by the Kingdom of Bahrain in the health sector. The Ministry of Health will continue being committed to improve and develop the level of health services and raise their quality with new projects and creative initiatives in order to implement the government's mission and meet the aspirations of the Bahraini society. To know more about the Ministry of Health's achievements, we are pleased to be joined here at the studio by the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Walid Al-Mani'. Hello, Dr. Walid, and thank you for joining us here on this national occasion.
Thank you, Yasmin, for your introduction. It's actually given me a great pleasure to be with you today. And if you allow me, I just want to raise my sincere congratulations for His Majesty the King and His Royal Highness Crown Prince for the celebration of this great day, which is actually the National Work Charter Day. We are very proud, as you mentioned, as Minister of Health and as a government and as a people of Bahrain for such actually something that we feel actually that this is really actually an added value for our life.
Of course. Which brings me to my first question, Dr. Walid. So there are several development and modernization strides which were successfully achieved in the health sector over the past years, as stipulated in the National Action Charter and the Constitution. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, talking about this charter, I would just say that it is really actually a wise decision from His Majesty the King to have such charter. And it was having like an opportunity for our people in Bahrain to show the loyalty, to show the support, and let us say going with the vision of the leadership. It was very comprehensive, so that it will have like multi-sectorial issues or services that will be provided. I'm not talking about health sector, but also for social, financial, education, and other sectors that will be direct or indirectly even actually will be reflected to the health services in Bahrain. Well, talking about the charter, that means health, which is talking about right. So in our constitution, the Kingdom Constitution Bahrain, Article number 8 says that every citizen have the right for health care, which is a very broad, let us say, article talking about very important issues. So without any limitations, so every single word in that have no limitation for right to health. In the medical field, whenever we are talking about right to health, that means 5 major things. So it's about availability of things, availability of beds, availability of clinics, availability of medicine. And in Bahrain, they put this on the top of priority to have available actually number of beds throughout all the country. Multiple hospitals, private sector, and even actually the public sector. The public sector, by the way, it accounts for about 70% from the major, or let us say the whole services, health services in Bahrain. And then talking about to make it available, also it have to be easy accessible. So availability and accessibility.
Yeah.
So people in Bahrain, they will just talk about as a right to health to have accessible or easy accessible services. So you don't have to collect all the health centers in one area. No, it's very equally actually distributed. All the country will have very short, let us say, distance to access the service and very easy. The third thing is acceptability. So that have to be acceptable for them. It could be available, it could be accessible, but it have to be culturally also acceptable. In Bahrain, we have the Islamic culture, we have different also religions in our country. So all of them, they have like a society that differs than other societies, let us say, even in the region or worldwide. So we have to tackle this point that yes, well, maybe in Bahrain they will be asking about very short, let's say, appointments rather than to be very long for 1 year or 2 years as it was there in Europe or let us say in America, which it differs actually now to our culture. The fourth thing is equity. So it have to be equal. And thanks God that as an achievement here in Bahrain, you will not find any things which differs for our residents in Bahrain, and our Bahrainis actually living in this country. So it is in equal services all around actually the country without any differences, without any discriminations at all. And then quality. So 5 major things. They are in need for it. Okay, what are the achievements for these 5? Through the era of His Majesty the King actually. The number of beds, number of health center increased to reach now to about 28 health center, which is distributed to the whole country. It increased from small that was there was an addition for more than 1,000 bed actually than the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years. Different subspecialties we found actually center of excellence for cancer patients, center of excellence for cardiac as a cardiac center, center of excellence for subspecialized actually diseases like even a transplant in Bahrain. So it was really added. So on all these, let us say, pillar of rights in our country as availability, accessibility, acceptability, which is the equity, and also that will be quality. As I mentioned, 70% of our service from public sector, and the quality of it is top. It's not only just top compared to the region, top compared worldwide. So I'm very proud actually as a Ministry of Health within this era, as I mentioned, of His Majesty the King. And it was wise decision. There was actually plan for implementation for that. And the outcome, which I talk about, that these pillars of the right to health are really in Bahrain achieved. And we feel proud about it.
Of course, and those 5 pillars actually did put Bahrain on the map, contributing to its accomplishments. So Dr. Walid, the legislative branch of the Bahraini government plays a pivotal role and gives full priority to the health sector. How do you value such support?
Well, thank you for mentioning about support, which is, yes, legislation in Bahrain. It was put in place, and they put the regulation, which are in need, and the decisions for implementation also in place. And I think this is a great support for our health sector. Well, there are some direct, let's say, legislation, laws, or whatever actually in the Constitution, as I mentioned before, for the Article 8, because Article 8 in our Constitution not only just right to health, but also that the right for individuals and for other, let us say, bodies to build hospitals, to have clinics, and also for the country which have the commitment to provide the hospitals, and also it's not only just the treatment, but it's also the prevention and rehabilitation after the treatment. So legislation talking about it, there are something which is indirect. For example, if you go for some law or decrees for environment that will be reflected to our health, something which is related to the pediatric age or for the children, also to be reflected to the health. But there are something which is direct. For example, we have some laws regarding the tobacco using in Bahrain, regarding the narcotic medication, the regulation for it. It's really something that we are in need for it. The major 3, let us say, laws within the last 10 years which was initiated, the public health law is the major one. And if you want to realize that, now when we had actually this now the COVID, let us say within this last 2 years, we had several regulations regarding or legislation regarding the COVID-19. And thanks God that we have the law in, which is the public health law, which was there working on it with the parliament for more than, I think that 5 or 6 years. But thanks God that the outcome of it is very great. There are some legislation which is regarding the main, which is major one, is the health insurance law. The major reform in Bahrain, the future reform which coming to Bahrain, is depending on this law. And it was done within, I think that this is the shortest time they took for it, because the government, they support this issue. And even the parliament, the people of Bahrain, they realized this is very important, and take not more than 1.5 years or maybe 1 year, and it was released actually. And you know, this is the great reform in it, because it will change all the health sector and different, let's say, rules. For example, Ministry of Health will take another role actually in providing services, not providing service, rather than to be regulatory and monitoring. The Supreme Health Health Council that will have actually leading mainly for the autonomy also, and they will get independent mainly as a hospitals and primary health care to provide the services, so that they will be the provider rather than the Ministry of Health. There are issues about financial economics and the health economics they call it. There are issues about the IT and how could we use the digitalization. This law is very important. It was a great actually support from both actually the parliament and the government to have or to release this law very actually in short actually matter. But there are a lot of laws and legislation which regard to the health sector which make actually our life easy. And you will put, it will be easy to also have like regulations. We'll have small instruction or decisions to be easy for you. As I mentioned, the COVID-19, thanks to God, that's what we have as an experience. Because of public health law, let us say, it was very easy to have such decisions which was made in the previous actually 2 years. Yeah.
Of course. So aligned with the National Economic Vision 2030, the Ministry of Health is committed to work as a unified governmental system to ensure sustainability, competitiveness and justice in providing healthcare services. So can you tell us more about the Ministry's efforts in this regard, as well as its contribution in achieving the National 2030 Sustainable Development Goals?
Well, Ministry of Health actually worked very closely with the WHO.
Yeah.
And for the United Nations, which was the initiation of SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, it was also the Millennium Before goals. And Bahrain was committed for such goals actually for a long time. Yeah. And as something that I just will tell you that all the indicators, the targets which we have to set and we have to be committed with as a Ministry of Health, it was achieved in 2015. So until now, we already achieved almost all the goals which was there as an SDG regarding the health sector. Talking about the third goal in the SDG for the health sector. But other goals which are related also to health sector, they have put that one actually in the plan. Well, how the kingdom actually realized that this is very important.
Yeah.
So we have a national health plan in the country, and national by its name. It's not only just Ministry of Health, but all they involved all the sector which will be related directly to the health sector or indirectly actually even for the health sector. So this is a plan which was like a gathering for all the government efforts in the private sector and other even actually NGOs that will be encountered for example societies, other NGOs that will be encountered for such actually plans. So the plan for national health plan, this will be like an implementation for the SDGs. The good thing actually that Bahrain that they achieve a lot for SDGs first. So talking about the SDGs, we had Ministry of Health awarded an award of excellence for controlling or monitoring, mainly controlling and prevention the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases they call them, NCDs there, that's right. And we have this actually process in 2018, and it was really something that we are proud about it, and what was achieved by Kingdom of Bahrain worldwide, that they found to be in health promotion, they are really in top, health prevention and treatment, especially for primary health care, and tackling the whole chronic diseases, the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, which is, the percentage and here in Bahrain is a little bit actually high, and we have to have a plan for them. So we had actually like a national survey which was done also in Bahrain, and we had the cooperation with the Emirate, and we have and also with the WHO to have such surveys and facts, so that we will have decisions on facts rather than the perception. Let us say, no, we are Bahrain, we know exactly what are the factors that will lead for the chronic diseases, and we put a plan for that. And we have also cooperation with the national plan. There are also another, on the national level, it's very important to have SDGs actually in place. For example, we have the national ambulance services, which was initiated. So Ministry of Health, also being council, Ministry of Health, private sector, all of them, they are actually in one major project, which is also something that we have to talk about, especially for the SDGs. I think there are a lot actually the level of the national literacy level, and for the SDG. So we talked about the award which was given actually from Ministry of Health, and there are many awards actually which was related also for the SDGs. We achieved, as I mentioned, all the targets, all the that we all need to achieve in 2015. I'll give you, like, for example, they talk about number of deaths, for example, and pediatric age, for example, less than 5 years as children, or in the maternity death, or which is very important mainly to evaluate each country. It's something like it will be like indicators for all the countries in the region, even actually worldwide, to know whether the situation in Bahrain or other countries is it okay or not. So we are actually one of the lowest actually number for death rate in children and pediatric age, and even actually for maternity. So yeah, I think this is something actually, thank you for this question, because it's really that we have to elaborate it for as a Ministry of Health.
Of course, and it's something to be celebrated that Bahrain is always ahead. Which comes to my second question, which is, after, or let's say in terms of facts and figures, what are the main achievements accomplished by the health sector in the kingdom during the current health circumstances?
Well, first of all, actually, we are very actually lucky to have a leadership here in Bahrain. And I think that His Royal Highness, the Prince Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, he played actually a great role as a leader in combating mainly the COVID-19. And the team of Bahrain, they are really actually a team of Bahrain. Team of Bahrain is not only just Ministry of Health, but all actually the other sectors which they help us. As I will not mention about one ministry to another, but all of them here in Bahrain. Every single Bahraini actually involved, such actually a Bahrain team. The achievement actually a lot. And talking about the main thing that whenever you have any epidemic or endemic in the country, you have to maintain the services which you provide. So you don't have to let's say you don't have to what I will say that you have to sustain mainly the level of services that will be provided as an emergencies, as a health sector, as a clinic, as a hospital admission beds. So you don't compromise them. Many countries, these actually for the COVID-19, they struggled mainly to maintain such services, sustain it, and they want to have, they have to combat, let's say, the COVID-19. But what was done in Bahrain, very actually successfully, and we are very proud about it. So you found actually the services in Bahrain continuous without any, let us say, compromisation for such services. We continue with that. At the same time, we do actually have a very excellent, let us say, outcome for combating the disease of COVID-19. How it comes like that, we're talking about the prevention of the disease first, and treatment, and even actually for rehabilitation. So when COVID-19 came, actually, we were very ahead, and we had actually planned how to, let us say, control such a disease. And even we were very well prepared for even the message which will be shown now, like in the media, and how could we talk about it. In Bahrain, we have the largest number, or let us say the highest number of examination which was done as a PCR. I think that we reach more than 8 million now, which is for this small country 1.5 million. It's something which is very huge. And it gives us actually the advantage that if we know the exact number in Bahrain, this is like an evaluation tool that we have to do, like a radar in Bahrain, that we'll just use it. And we will see that how the extent the disease here in Bahrain. So because of such PCR which was done on a daily basis, it's a very huge number compared to the world. Maybe we are actually the first actually in the world with such number, which is one of the major achievements. Because of that, our decisions made of facts, again, it's not on perception. Any decision which is taken in Bahrain, we are, let us say, if not 100%, 95%, 99%, we are sure that the right way to take actually such a number. The other thing is the treatment. In a very short time, we provide capacity, or we build our capacity to be 6-fold the one section in Bahrain. Talking about the number of beds, capacity of clinics, whatever. We added more than 6,000 actually beds for isolation and for treatment, and more than 500 beds for ICU, which is for the intensive care units. And you know, this is really actually a great achievement, and it was very well recognized by Dr. Tedros when he arrived here to Bahrain. He's actually the general manager for WHO, and he was actually even impressed about how did you do it actually in a very short time.
Yeah.
This is really actually an achievement within this time. Other than the treatment, is the vaccination. We are really actually proud that we are the first in the world to have this coverage, which is more than now more than 80, maybe 2% of our population are vaccinated. And now we started to the children age, so we reach more than 85%, maybe 90%. Now we reached about 90-something% from the target group that they are needed actually to be vaccinated. Not only just with the first vaccine, second dose, no, even actually with the third dose, and now we started the fourth dose, which are the booster dose. And we are very actually ahead, going actually in the top before any very well-developed countries, and I will not mention actually the names, but you know that in Bahrain we are very proud about the vaccination. So, achievement for a leadership, achievement for examination and PCR, which was taken, maintaining or sustaining the same services, not only just for the Bahrainis, even actually for the residents. We care about all here in Bahrain equally without any differences. And again, the vaccination coverage is very huge, and this is actually a real achievement. We had, by the way, more than 25 research, which is a worldwide research. They depend on it in other countries mainly for their treatment, for their approach mainly to combat actually the disease. So yes, I could actually talk about the achievement for the COVID for 3-4 continuous days without stopping.
No, thank you for mentioning it. These are all accomplishments that make us proud to be here. So, which brings me to my next question. So after years of dedicated efforts, how does the Ministry of Health assess its constant success, and what are the procedures taken to maintain the sustainability?
Thank you actually for this question, because sustainability is very important. Talking about sustainability, that means you have to have different actually approach for the service. This means you have to have a body for supervision, a body for regulation, a body for monitoring, and a body for providing the service. And you have to get the feedback from our population, from different sectors in Bahrain. And I think that what we talk about, the law actually for health insurance, that's what the reform which is coming to sustainability. So now there will be like a clear rule for the supervision and regulation from the Supreme Health Council, Ministry of Health. Now they have the rule also of regulation and also monitoring, auditing, evaluation also from the NHRA, National Health Authority, or Regulation Authority, and we are involving all other sectors, mainly in the health sector, and providing the services. So hospitals are very independent now. And why they are independent, and why are we talking about sustainability at the same time we have these different bodies? Because the driver mainly for change, which will not maintain or will not actually sustain your service, that they are in need, let us say, for things, and you are not providing them. I'll just give you like an example. Our people here in Bahrain, what they are need most, they are need to have the right for health, which you mentioned about it, available service, easy accessible, culturally accepted, whatever, which we mentioned about at that time. What about the private sector? They need to be involved more. They don't want to be only just 30% from our service, at least 50%. They want more quality actually in their sector, rather than what happened now, but they need support. They need the government mainly to buy, let us say, from them, or to share them, or to have at least a PPP project, private-public partnership with them. Okay, coming to the hospitals now, the government, before actually this laws coming in, what they need actually to be independent. They need actually the freedom mainly to take decisions. They need the service to be, which will be provided, will be easy to take a decision. That autonomy is only just the freedom of taking a decision. So that what they are in need as a health centers, even actually as a hospitals. What do the government need from the health sector? they need them mainly to utilize the resources in a better way. So financially and health economics have to be there. And so that's how could we maintain or sustain the things. Okay, we will do our job. We will provide the service from the hospitals. They will have actually the freedom mainly in taking their decisions without any problem by this law. At the same time, they will be monitored by Ministry of Health, by Supreme Health Council, by NEHRA. They will be actually evaluated forward to have utilized actually the resources in a better way, in a good way. At the same time, they have to maintain the same quality. What about the private sector? In the new law, the insurance will cover also the private. So our actually people in Bahrain residents, they could actually pay, let us say, less than maybe 40% or less than that in their insurance, but they will have access to the private sector. So the private sector have to compete mainly the services which will provide also in the public sector. So it will be just win-win situation. And this win-win situation, when the whole bodies which I mentioned about it, it really will have reflect on sustainability of the services. So the government will get actually a support from the private, support from even the public. They will do the job, let us say, in a better way. And you get actually all of them to do their work in a better way. They have a culture of competition. A culture of, it's not a blaming culture, but it's like a monitoring culture. Something that will be very, you have to know what will be your responsibility exactly. And I think, this is the way how could we sustain the services within the coming days, inshallah.
Thank you, and thank you for that example. It really reflected let's say, how the ministry maintains that sustainability. So coming into our last question, you've mentioned how Bahrain stands out internationally. So can you tell us how you value this international recognition in regards of Bahrain's remarkable achievements in the health sector?
Well, there are a lot actually to mention about our achievements, but I just will start that our cooperation with the WHO is very important because we give them actually like a feedback, whatever done here in Bahrain. At the same time, we are actually in the benefit of getting the expertise, getting all the people that they have to, let's say, evaluate our condition, our country. At the same time, they will give us actually a chance to be a part, and as I mentioned about the award which was given to the Kingdom of Bahrain. Mentioning about the achievement, talking about, there are a lot which was done in Bahrain for example, maternity and pediatric health. The numbers mainly of maternity deaths in Bahrain, if we compare it 50 years back to now, it's dramatically changed by more than 20, let us say, times less now in Bahrain. And we are actually top in the country. So it is very well recognized worldwide and by the WHO that the Bahrain efforts which was given here and was done here in the country is really something that have to be recognized. And yes, actually we are in the great or the top actually countries in these numbers. For example, there are some communicable diseases which are, let us say, old ones, not the COVID now. But talking about malaria in Bahrain, the last case in Bahrain was in 1981.
Wow.
And it was declared actually for the Bahrain that from WHO that's already the disease end. And we are now involved in setting the plans and how could we combat such a malaria disease in other countries. So we are actually a part worldwide, very well recognized about how could we deal with the malaria and how could we actually combat this disease. Measles in Bahrain and rubella, we are clear and we end this disease in 2019. And this is also another actually achievement for our country. Talking about vaccination. The coverage of Bahrain is long times. More than 97% of our population are covered with the vaccine. I cannot say 100%, but 97 because there are maybe some exceptions that they will not be given. But it's more than 97, maybe 99% of coverage. Very actually responsible population in our country, and very well actually promoted because they know about, let us say, the importance of vaccination, and that's how they do actually accept it. Even actually in COVID, we have a very high rate of coverage for such vaccine. So Bahrain very actually well recognized worldwide for the highest vaccination rate compared to the region and compared to worldwide mainly actually coverage rate. There are a lot about, let us say, maybe the survey which was done, as I mentioned, the award. Well, maybe I don't get it actually in mind now, but there are many achievements to the country, and it is very well actually recognized about it as a country. For the COVID-19, it's another story, because actually they put it in a very top actually category, and they want to know about let us say our experience in combating COVID-19. And you know, Bahrain name was actually just, they talk about it all the media, even for other countries, and WHO, they send actually a lot of actually letters, a lot of recognition about what was done in the effort here in Bahrain. So there are a lot, maybe I don't, there are something about, for example, also for the tobacco, we have actually a plan for it, and it was done very well actually in our country. Let us say the results mainly, which we reduce the number of smoking here in Bahrain. The survey, which as I mentioned before, for the chronic diseases, and because how it will be reflected, if we know the factors, we also we have to let us say give our objectives will mainly to reduce such factors, to reduce the major diseases, and there are some of the diseases, chronic diseases, also reduce as a rate in our country, and this is, let us say, a good achievement for Bahrain. I think this is very small, just a few points about it, but there are lots also to mention.
And all those points and all those achievements does put Bahrain on the map. So thank you so much, Dr. Walid, for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. Our coverage continues. We will be back right after this.
Bahrain issued its National Action Charter, which became the basis on which the modern state was established. The reform process of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa began with the adoption of the National Action Charter by consensus by a whopping 98.4% of the population in the referendum held on February 14, 2001. This affirmed the solidarity of the people with the leadership in support of the reform efforts. The Charter deals with the general philosophy, principles and foundations that constitute the basic elements of society and the system of government, as well as the foundations of the national economy in 7 consecutive chapters, preceded by an introduction that outlines the basic features of Bahrain's historical presence. The Charter paved the way for the numerous achievements the kingdom has achieved in the political, economic, social and human development fields, among others. It ushered in an era of freedom of speech and an increase in the overall sources of media found in the country. It brought about many positive changes in the public and private sectors, which improved the lives of the workforce and the citizens of the kingdom. In spite of the small size of the Kingdom of Bahrain, the nation's projects and achievements have not ceased to continue in accordance with a vision that emphasizes that the citizen is the basis of development and its main goal. Democracy, human rights, and free and fair elections have become a reality and pattern of practice in the political life of the kingdom following the adoption of the National Action Charter. The kingdom has also consistently ranked high on the scale of human rights and expatriate protection. The National Action Charter is a comprehensive document that transformed Bahrain through homegrown ideas and is a major landmark in the history of the nation. Every year we remember and celebrate the wise vision of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, which brought the kingdom to a new stage of renaissance and development on the basis of strong religious and national constants, while emphasizing the needs of the citizens and honoring their patriotism and love for the kingdom and its leadership.
Throughout their history, Bahraini women have established their national roles in achieving growth and prosperity in the kingdom's development. They have greatly contributed to the democratic progress and strengthened political action, based on their sense of patriotic responsibility and eagerness to contribute effectively to the National Comprehensive March. To talk more about Bahraini women's remarkable achievements and tremendous efforts in the legislative field, we are pleased to be joined here at the studio by the Shura Council's Chairwoman of Women and Child Committee, Dr. Ibtisam Al-Dallal. Hello, Dr. Ibtisam, and thank you for joining us here today.
Hello, Yasmin. Thank you.
Dr. Ibtisam, Bahraini women have established their natural roles in achieving prosperity in the kingdom and consolidating democratic action. So can you tell us about the stages of development witnessed by Bahraini women's participation in the political and democratic process, as well as the factors behind their success?
Yeah, this is a long story, Yasmin.
I'd love to hear it.
Yes, and as Bahraini woman has really her participation increased over the years, and she started this participation with in the early 30s on the municipality election at that time, and the historical documents showed us that any woman can participate. She has the eligibility if she own a house or a property registered in her name. And then it goes to the early 50s when also women participated in the election of the central municipality and really reflected an effect on the society that women can do something at that time.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the 70s when the Society of Women and Child Affairs Welfare, Women and Child Welfare, and Nahda Society, these are already established at that time. They were participated in the referendum of for the identity of Bahrain in the presence of the General Secretariat of the United Nations at that time. And then we go to the late 90s on the accession of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. At that time, in 1999, 4 women appointed as legislators in the first legislated Shura Council, because the 2 terms of Shura Council earlier, it was like consultancy, as consultancy, but started to have a legislator Shura Council in 1999. And that was followed of appointment of 6 women in the preparation of the National Action Charter.
Yeah.
And these 6 women were very prominent, and they have really great impact on the women political rights today, because they were insisting on a few paragraphs which helped really women to go through this. And then after that, also for the drafting the National Charter, 2 women were appointed in the committee between 16, and then many ministers, women ministers, and women ambassadors were appointed at, this during this time. And we go to 2018 when we have the first speaker as a woman, and she is the first speaker as a woman in Arabic countries.
Yes.
And with her there was a few ladies, I think 6 ladies now we have. And for the Shura Council, 9 members, women were appointed, and it come as a percentage like 23%. So this how, it come as the participation.
Of course. And thank you for walking us through the timeline. Dr. Ibtisam, how do you value the royal trust and constant support towards women in the legislative field?
What is more than appointment of 6 women
Yes.
among 46 members to prepare the National Action Charter. This is, this is the change
Yes.
of everything. This is a milestone really in the women journey in Bahrain. And also the appointment of 9 women in the Shura Council. This is really represent the royal trust in Bahraini women.
Yes, and that showcases the support or the level of support that Bahraini women have received in those roles. How did the National Action Charter lay the foundation of women and child's rights protection in the kingdom?
Yeah, of course, after that, following the National Charter, there was the formation of Supreme Council for Women.
Yes.
And Supreme Council for Women, of course, the methodology is to assess continuous assessment for development and the process of Bahraini women in all public and private fields. Of course, the establishment of women political leaders and to be affiliated to His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and to be chaired by Her Highness Princess Sabishka bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa give also women really a very strong position. And this assessment continue to have a strategy, to have plans, and also to proceed with the advancement, Women Advancement National Plan, which we are practicing today, and that was formed or established in 2013 for the next 10 years. So it will finish by next year, and I think they are studying and preparing a lot of strategies and policies to go on. So this how it become. It really showcases the development of women in Bahrain in a very short time, really.
Of course, and it's something we need to be proud of.
Oh yes.
Can you talk about the accomplishments? Like you've mentioned a few, like in the previous paragraphs. Can you talk about the few accomplishments?
In fact, women empowerment was really a great accomplishment done by the Supreme Council for Women. And this women empowerment, it goes with the equitable gender equality, and also it goes with the vision of equal partnership. This is a really good achievement, and recently it was just there was a decree signed by His Majesty for equal pay, and in fact it is equal opportunities. What we have also in Bahrain, which is unique, it's unique experience, is the Equal Opportunities Committees, which is formed by the Women Supreme Council for Women. And these committees are 24 committees for the public sector and 17 committees for the private sectors. And all reflects the vision of the leadership in Bahrain about the woman advancement and where we want her to be in the future.
Of course, and definitely we've gone a long way.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Ibtisam, can you tell me, so the kingdom has keen interest to incorporate women's needs in the development policies through a national agenda. So pro-women legislations and laws that support the stability of women and families, like you mentioned previously. Can you tell us more about the importance and the outcomes of exerting such efforts?
This action, which we talk about, also led to the integrating of women needs in the government national plan. This integration has many aspects. Mainly is the ensuring family stability, and also empowering women, and raising also the vision of equitable opportunities, and gender equality, and integrating women needs in the development programs. And these development programs through the government national policy. And also يعني Bahraini women started the stage of advancement, women advancement, but today we are at the stage of advancement of women. Okay, and this transformation really reflect the equal opportunities which has been really established in our society.
Of course, and we do see Bahrain being a pioneer in establishing or giving women equal opportunities.
Yes.
Dr. Ibtisam,
many questions. So I have to remember a little bit.
No worries at all. So as a successful Bahraini woman yourself, and from your point of view, what is the importance of sharing Bahraini women's stories of success, like the ones you've previously shared with us, with the counterparts around the world?
In fact, Bahraini women have a remarkable role in the society and also internationally. It's not only on the national level. And Bahraini women has a key role now in various fields, in health, business, economy, in justice, and in even in police, security, engineering. So many fields. In your field.
True.
Yes. So really she became a role model nationally and internationally, and we really appreciate all these efforts by the government and by the Supreme Council for Women to achieve such stage and such stage and such development.
Of course.
We are practicing and we are seeing every day in Bahrain.
And so it's really important for us not only to, let's say, take on those important roles, but also make sure that we're showcased around the world.
Oh yes, yes, very important.
So how do you value the international recognition of Bahraini women's success in the legislative field?
Yes, in fact, in women in legislative fields participate in many organizations, Arab organization and international, and because they are really long list, I would take my papers here.
Please do.
And she is chairing and co-chairing many committees all over the world. She has a really prominent role in the international interparliamentary union, in the Arab interparliamentary union, in the women political leaders, in the parliamentarian network for food security and nutrition in Africa and Arab world. She is also chairing committees in the Arab Observatory for Human Rights and in the Arabic Parliament. She is very active, and in the Federation of Private Education of the Arab States.
Wow.
All these, they are really women in Shura Council and in the Parliament, participating in all these organizations actively and showcasing the Bahrain, where we are now, and also showcasing the role of women in Bahrain.
Of course. Dr. Ibtisam, from your point of view, how do you see the future of Bahraini women's contribution to the various, let's say, aspects of national development?
The Kingdom of Bahrain really is committed and determined to give Bahraini women equal opportunities in all fields. And that was really participated in unlocking the women potential in Bahrain, and also the integration of her need in the government national plan was very, very important for her family stability. That really play a big role in having her really very active on all levels. I would like here to mention that although Bahrain is very, very small in population and in size, but Bahrain could send 7 women ambassadors abroad, and during this 23 years, and they were very, very active, prominently active, and they have a great impact in showcasing Bahraini women outside and showcasing the development of Bahrain in general, with after the accession of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. So really became a role model. We are very proud of Bahraini woman today. She is really leading in many aspects, in fact in all aspects of life, public life, in various specialties. You see her everywhere, very active. We are not really looking at the number. I mean, some of the advanced countries, they have 50% representatives of women in the parliament or Shura Council or Shuyukh. But in Bahrain, it is different. Even in those advanced countries, still till today, they are seeking solutions for sexual harassment in parliaments and equal pay, which we have. We are beyond that. Although we are with almost 15% representation, 23 and 9% in the parliament, still we are very much advanced country in our policies, our strategies, and our plans.
About the quality and not the quantity, right?
In fact, the Kingdom of Bahrain is committed really for all these advancement and make the woman today is a role model in different fields. I can see Bahraini women advancement on national and international level. I can see her going very enthusiasm towards the future. Yes, so this is really, we can sum up the Bahraini woman situation.
Yes.
At the time being, she is a role model now.
And thank you for being a role model yourself.
Thank you.
So before we conclude the interview, would you like to add anything?
I would like to congratulate on this occasion His Majesty the King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. I would like to congratulate His Highness Sheikh Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa and Her Highness Princess Sabicha bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa, the pioneer and the leading of women in Bahrain and sharing all this year enthusiastically the Supreme Council of Women.
Thank you, Dr. Ibtisam. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here at the studio with us.
Thank you so much.
And of course, the Kingdom of Bahrain is committed to building on the principles of the National Action Charter. Our coverage continues. We will be back right after this.
somewhere prosperity. تحت راية بلاد الخير بنتكاتف لأجل كل خير، بنبني أرضنا ونمضي في درب العز والتطوير. تحت راية بلاد الخير بنتكاتف أبد ما فرقتنا طياف ولا مذهب ولا
Throughout the previous years, the Kingdom of Bahrain has achieved major accomplishments in fostering democracy, entrenching the foundations of the state of law, and building an integrated legislative and legal system, as well as public institutions to promote human rights. These changes constitute fundamental transformations aimed at preserving human rights and public freedoms and ensure people's enjoyment of these rights. The establishment of the National Institution for Human Rights, NIHR, according to Law Number 26 of 2014, is one of the remarkable achievements of Bahrain's comprehensive reform march. The tasks of the NIHR focus on the promotion, development, and protection of human rights. And to talk more about that, we are pleased to be joined here at the studio by the President of the National Institution for Human Rights, Mr. Ali Al-Drazi. Hello, Mr. Ali, and thank you for joining us here today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. Mr. Ali, the enlightened vision of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa enabled Bahrain to achieve many human rights accomplishments. Can you tell us more about this royal vision and the main achievements?
Well, His Majesty the King has a wide view on the human right, not only on the human right, but the whole open a new era to Bahrain. We have a new constitution, we have new laws, and we have been in a big achievements in all the aspects of the country.
Correct.
So basically we had big revolutionary ideas and achievement that Bahrain has achieved in his era.
And what can you tell us about those achievements?
The NIHR been established first in 2009 by His Majesty Royal Order, and then on 2014 we had the Law 26, where we have the achievement of the establishment of the institute itself.
Yeah.
And there was an amendment in 2016 to have more comprehensive our law become more clear to the protocols of Paris protocols. When you are talking about Paris protocols, that's been the Kingdom of Bahrain by itself has established an independent institute to regulate and to check all the human rights, whether it has been respected properly or not. Well, this itself, it's an achievement by establishing a third party that will watch you and will do kind of not regulating, but auditing that all the law has been respected properly by the authorities.
Of course, and you've talked about human rights or human rights protection in the kingdom. How did the National Action Charter lay the foundation of human rights protection in Bahrain?
Well, it lays everything, not only the human rights, not only in the human rights aspects, but the institution itself, it was based on it. And the legislations, authorities, etc., etc. So it just opened a new era for Bahrain.
Yeah. So speaking about the institution, so the establishment of the National Institution for Human Rights came in response to the kingdom's comprehensive development and commitment towards human rights protection. Can you tell us more about the NIHR's vision and the responsibilities or the main responsibilities?
Well, as I said, the responsibilities is kind of auditing and watching and make sure that there is a big respect from the authorities to the human rights and to His Majesty visions. This is one of the goals now. If you look at what we are doing at the moment, we strengthen our relationship with all the NGOs in Bahrain who's working for the field, in the field of the human rights. This is one of the goals. Strengthening the relationship with the citizens and with all whoever living on this island. This is the second goal. And to achieve, believe me, these goals are not such easy goals, you know, not such easy aspect. We are working very hard to it. The more complaints we have, the better achievement we have.
Of course, correct. So, Mr. Ali, the legislative branch of government played a pivotal role and gave full priority to support the NIHR's responsibilities or performance. Can you tell us more about, or can you tell us how you value such support and how it facilitates achieving those goals that you've just mentioned?
We just started when we say the establishment itself. It happened with the law number 26.
Yes.
This happens through the legislation authority. This is one. Secondly, all whatever related, any law related to human rights, usually we have a very good cooperation together with the Parliament of Bahrain, and we are always. And by the way, one of our commissioners is from Shura Council and other from the Parliament. So basically, we have a very, very strong relationship together with them, and any law, as I say, related to the human rights, usually they pass it to us and we look at it from the aspect of the human right respectation.
Of course. So which brings me to my next question. His Majesty the King directed the government to reinforce its capabilities for the effective application of the provisions of the Penal Code on alternative sentencing. What can you tell us about the importance and what can you elaborate on the advantages?
Well, you know, it is a different philosophy about the alternative sentencing.
Yes.
The goal itself, to achieve such goal, we have to have a proper preparation to the society itself. The society should cooperate, not only cooperate, but participate in such a goal.
Of course.
The prisoners themselves, when he left out, he need to be adapted and he need to be accepted by the society. So not only the government from one side, the society themselves, they should participate and not only watch, but to have their own participation in it.
Correct. So participation is key in, let's say, achieving the success.
That's right.
So the NIHR is committed to strengthening the capabilities in human rights field in order to maintain providing effective services like what you've mentioned. What can you tell me about the initiatives and the training courses launched by the institution?
Well, training, we are doing a different kind of training, not only to we are doing a training with the societies, with the NGOs and with the government and with the different authorities. And the training is one of our mandates that we always work on it. We are having monthly different type of trainings. And as I said, the human rights themselves cannot work unless the society has accept them and adapt them.
Yes.
You understand? And then the role will start moving correct.
Correct. So those training courses are aimed at, let's say, strengthening or allowing those, let's say, to adapt, correct?
That's right.
All right. So the international outreach activity and effective cooperation with regional and global human rights institutions are pillars of the NIHR's work. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, you know, as I said, when you work in Bahrain, we are strengthening our relationship with all those who work with in our field. We will not be able to achieve the goal unless we have a proper relationship as well with the regionals and with the international societies and whoever work and all the organizations work in our field. And we will not be able to do our mandate unless, as I said, we resonate our relationship with the outsiders.
Of course, which brings me to the last question. So dealing with misleading information, of course, is a must. So can you tell us more about the Institute's procedures to deal with incorrect information?
We always say that Bahrain is a small country, and but people having big hearts, and it is big inside than outside itself. And we always say to everyone, whoever says, give any wrong information, you please welcome to Bahrain. We can show you, and you communicate with us.
Of course.
Ask us the question. The problem, you know, sometimes they just write something because of anyone who have a different aim for Bahrain. We always say that if you want to know the proper information, come to the source.
Yes, and they'll see it themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, so thank you so much, Mr. Ali, for being with us today, and thank you for sharing a lot of the information that we needed to hear today. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. We will be back right after this short break. with that, we have reached to the end of our special coverage marking the anniversary of the ratification of the National Action Charter. We would like to thank our guests for being with us, and we would like to thank you all for watching. Wishing you a happy National Action Charter Day. Goodbye.